Welcome, Mike from Sylph Dapps, onto the Wholesome Crypto Podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. And I love what you're doing. Love your apps that you're creating. They're a lot of fun. They're kind of like a meme, but also does show that you know how to develop apps for Web3. And before we get into what you're doing in crypto and how you got it and your life in it today, where was Mike before ever even hearing about cryptocurrencies at all?
Sure. I've been a software developer for ages, and I'm still with the same company IRL that I was before I found crypto. So I'm doing the kind of DApp development thing as just a really in-depth hobby that I have. If I'm not working or doing something with the kids, I'm online tinkering with Solidity, React, whatever the latest tech is, trying to find my way around this whole thing.
Nice. And that's a classic, like just having this core skill set of being a developer and just using it for hobbies and having fun with it. But could you ever see yourself being full-time crypto? I guess how close is your current job related to financial and Web3 world? Or is it completely just Web2?
I'm building applications for the web with the company I'm with, but it's non-financial stuff. It's data visualization stuff.
Cool.
Kind of more in like the purist sense. Um, and that's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. So I get a nice little balance between the insanity of Web3 and the stability of knowing what to expect. Logging in each day to work.
Yeah, for sure. And since you're in the software field anyways, like you've been in it for a while, you said, when was the first time you heard about crypto? Was it a friend or yourself?
I want to say it was probably Reddit or Dig or whatever social media
Oh,
platform
Dig. I
was
forgot
larger
about
at the
Dig.
time. Yeah. It's
Wow.
probably 2012 when I first heard about Bitcoin, and I remember tracking it in the news for a while and not really understanding the idea behind it. I got the idea of like, okay, it's decentralized, and no one can take your money away from you. That's really valuable because you get locked out of your bank accounts, and if you upset the wrong people
Yeah.
or something like that. But there's a whole lot more to it than that, and I never really dove into like the Bitcoin talk forums or anything like that. I did at one point think, wow, I should really get in on this, and I set up a Coinbase account, and like in between the time when I was like mentally like getting over that hurdle, like I should get some exposure to this, and when like the KYC went through and everything like that, Bitcoin had spiked like it like more than doubled. And I was like, well, I guess I missed that one. So I never bought any crypto during that first cycle. But then when my wife and I had our first kid in 2016, just like a stray thought crossed my mind. I was like, I should buy him one Bitcoin, and I can give it to him when he's 18. And I don't think they're too expensive right now. So if something happens with it, maybe it pays for his college or whatever. And so I logged into that Coinbase account, and they had Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. And the Ethereum price was like $10 at the time, and I was like, what is this much cheaper cryptocurrency that's available on here? And I spent like days after that just in the Ethereum subreddits and all of that, just like devouring all I could. I absolutely loved the idea that it was a decentralized money that you could actually do something with beyond just holding it. I think Bitcoin still has it has that niche, but as a developer, someone who would be interested in building on top of it, that really spoke to me. So I never
Mhm.
actually did buy my kid that Bitcoin, but I've been building on Ethereum ever since.
Wow. I mean, maybe hopefully your kid's gonna be, thanks for not buying Bitcoin, but he was probably gonna be like, why don't you buy both anyways, Dad? God. Who knows what they're gonna be into once they're in college. That's like you said, like the Ethereum ecosystem, the Ethereum like cryptocurrency itself, you can build a lot more on top of it. And it's a perfect trigger for someone who wants to test their programming skills on the blockchain. And other than the financial side, as you were digging into Ethereum, were you were you getting thoughts and ideas of like, how can I build on top of this to solve my own problems? Or just were you even ever trying to think about like what a world can be like if I built into crypto full time or adapted crypto into my current job? Or were you just enthusiastic about what's there, but never deep into trying to, I guess, take the entrepreneurial route?
Um, yeah, I don't know, I like the stability of my current job, so I want to keep that. So I'm not really interested in building like the next Aave or anything like that. That's gonna have me kind of hard pivot and figure out how to do, uh, you know, hardcore business development and manage people and the DAO and all of that. So I'm completely satisfied just building small little things, whether it be like a flash in the pan or just some little DApp that I personally get use out of. Like I built one. I think one of the first things I built was a application that lets you sign an arbitrary message and get the signature, and you can share it. And there wasn't really anything like that that I was aware of at the time. Um, so that was a pretty cool thing to do that I got some use out of. Um, I, at one point, I built like a little chore chart for my son. Um, uh, I deployed on one of the test nets, so the transactions were free. But like it's like a little 5x5 grid, and it's got various chores down the columns and a count down the rows, and he can click on a cell, and behind the scenes it writes a transaction off to I think it was Ropsten at the time, and he gets a little like sticker that shows up on the grid, and it was really really cool. Like he was like I remember he's like 2 years old, and he wanted to play the sign transaction game.
Oh man, is he? So how old is he now?
He's
Four,
6.
6. So he's not. I guess how intuitive is it for a 6-year-old? I guess understanding the blockchain. Have you explained that to him, or is it just a website?
He doesn't really have the baseline to kind of understand what it's all about. Um, he he gets NFTs. Like the pictures speak to him. Like we'll scroll through whatever collection on OpenSea, or the CryptoPunks are his favorite. He likes scrolling through Larva Labs. Um, uh, yeah, he gets that. He does not get. I guess I haven't really tried the whole like fungible token thing, explaining all of that to him. Um, it's funny. Like a lot of people struggle with understanding NFTs. Like if you watch any of like the more like mainstream media news where they discuss it, like you're buying a JPEG that you can just right click save as. You're not very smart. But like I guess coming in completely fresh, just like his brain is like a sponge. It works for him, I guess, having no preconceived notions. But I don't really know how to explain fungible tokens as well to him.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because, like, as kids, you're much like it's easier for you to adapt and understand some new technologies than it is as, an elderly person trying to figure out your MetaMask wallet. I think
Yeah.
your son probably have a much easier time as he grows up. But yeah, I just was kind of curious on the new generation for blockchain. And I've seen you have like what, like 12 apps publicly available now
Something like that. Yeah.
for just for fun. So, where do you get these ideas? Like you have, I'm looking at your website now, you have Frumps, the Daily Denza, and you even have Meth, which was pretty hilarious, the insolvent wrapper for ETH. What is your thought process in each of these or some of these apps, and yeah, the reason you built them?
So they come from a lot of places. I have like a backlog, like a list of like 40 different things I want to build. But actually, getting around to them, with the day job and with the family is kind of hard. I found that what has worked for me the most is when crypto Twitter is just on fire about something.
Mm.
And it's like, the meme of the day. If there's something I can execute on it within, just a few days, I will usually have like that kind of like hyper focus to that's required to get something over the finish line. So like the frumps that you mentioned there is a rip on the Donald Trump's digital trading cards that he did back in
Oh
November.
yeah.
Like there's the crypto punks, and then at some point, I think it's like 2021, someone released Funks, which is a flipped version, like the punks face the other way, and that's been like a popular mimetic thing that people will do when a collection gets big. There'll be a derivative that, without a doubt, is a flipped version of that. And so I wanted to kind of capitalize on, the the very very corny images that are in that collection. Um, there's like I remember, not to like rip on Donald Trump or anything too much. I don't want to get too political or anything like that. But like I remember the announcement video he did where he's clearly reading from a teleprompter, and as best he can, he's going off script too. But he's talking about how the collection immortalizes moments from his life, and there's one where he's on the moon and wearing like a baseball cap and holding a football. It's like that never happened. It's a very silly collection, and I thought, if I flip this around the other way, that's going to be fun too. Um, and I wanted to do something good with that one. So I'd say probably about half of the stuff that I've put out there that actually takes in ETH it goes to like nonprofits or public goods or something like that. And for that one, that was clearly a cash grab for everyone involved. There was no intention of that being like an everlasting community with like, there's going to be swag that you can get, and there's going to be IRL events that you can get like that. And that made me sad. So I had reached out to a nonprofit called Homes Not Borders, and what they do, they're DC based, and kind of their thing is that they help refugees who have found their way to the DC area kind of get established. The housing that they have is not particularly well furnished and all of that, and they might not necessarily have the skills that they need to kind of start fresh. And so the contract that I set up for Frumps has all the minting proceeds go directly to Homes Not Borders. It never touches a wallet I control. The ETH sits in the contract, and there's a public function that anyone can call that just forwards the accumulated ETH onto them. It hasn't sold out yet. I have very few followers on Twitter. I haven't really cracked that game yet, but it's sitting there. The contract's going to live on as long as the Ethereum blockchain. Maybe it catches fire at some point, and potentially do a lot of good for a group that's trying to make a big difference.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing with that too, because if you were some type of centralized entity or program, people would just take your word for it. But thanks to blockchain, you can prove that anything that happens on the Frump's NFT goes right into the donation for Homes Not Borders. And that's like the beauty of it. And it's amazing how you can just do that. I feel like, I guess I have another question, like for that nonprofit, how was their reception to that idea? I mean, obviously it went through, but did you have to like
Yeah.
teach them and convince them how to use a blockchain?
No, so they're already with the Giving Block. The Giving Block
Okay.
is a crypto company that has their mission to set up basically as many nonprofits and charities and that group with Ethereum wallets as they can. If you go onto their website, they have hundreds of organizations and a real quick like donate button that you can connect your wallet to and send them whatever tokens you want. It's really amazing. Um, and so I found Homes Not Borders through the Giving Block. I wanted
Nice.
I had a particular kind of nonprofit that I had in mind for this one. So I went in there and started looking around at the different filters they had. I found them pretty quickly. Um, kind of the nice thing about crypto is I could have done this without their permission, but I didn't want to release like an NFT collection that would, you know, it didn't yet. I mean, I haven't caught on yet, but had the potential to raise some eyebrows and come under scrutiny. Um, uh, I don't know how Donald Trump and his legal team would have felt about having his NFTs flipped and whatnot, but um, I reached out to them and I said, hey, I made this really corny NFT. That's not what I said when I pitched it to them. But, hey, I made this NFT collection. I want to make you all the recipient of it. How do you feel about that? I don't want to launch this without your say so. And they wrote me back a few days later, and yeah, as a nonprofit, they made it clear that they couldn't like officially sanction it. Like yes, we're partners now or anything like that. But they're
Yeah,
like, we would be honored if you'd go through it. That'd be really cool. So,
that's awesome.
for them, I do hope that that collection one day catches someone's eye who has the ability to mint something out. But we'll see. It's it's a really neat world we're living in right now and that we're coming into where in a very short amount of time you can write a few dozen lines of code, and you don't have to write code at this point. There are tools online where you can set up a contract like Zora or Indelible or Rarible or whatever, where you can make a different Ethereum address the recipient of minting proceeds very quickly. You don't even need to be technical. um, and you've suddenly set up a channel that if people are so inclined, they can donate their money. The only fees that they pay are to the blockchain for securing the transaction and making it forever. There's no GoFundMe or Kickstarter or whatever that's taking a cut. There's no
Hmm.
10-day waiting period if they're like international for the money to do whatever it does when you try and send money overseas
Exactly.
behind the scenes. It is really amazing that we have that now, and I'm really looking forward to the next few years when this sort of thing becomes more mainstream. And I really hope we get a bull run where that's a little more sticky, where we get people to come and they don't leave once the money dries up, and we can start using crypto to fund things that need to be funded in like a sustainable way.
Exactly. And yeah, definitely grateful for you building things out like that actually help other people and not just some type of um, pump and dump rug pull. Because obviously, with your skill set, you could probably do a lot of good or a lot of bad. But thankfully, you're doing a lot of good. Uh, so, I mean, you were developing for a while. You said in the crypto space too. Have you found how was your progression? Like the tools that are available, the documentation that became available from 2016 till now. Have you found it extremely progressive, or technically speaking, is it still, a little difficult, and you might need to be a little bit of a software engineer to work that out?
Yeah, it's been incredible. In the uh, early 2000s, we didn't have Chrome yet. We had Firefox, we had Internet Explorer, we had uh, the Safari up and coming, and building for Web 2 was very hard. You did not have really good developer tooling. Like today, we have tools where you can right click on an element on a page and it will pull up the source code for you that renders that element. And you can go in and you can edit it directly and it will refresh live on page. In the early 2000s, there was not that. You had to, go into your code, and refresh and get your app back in the same state that it was to test whatever change it was you were trying to make. And browsers were not the same. Internet Explorer did its own thing. Firefox did its own thing. It was hard. Um, the most of your time went to negotiating cross browser differences, and those things were very difficult. But over time, like we got better and better at uh, uh, building those tools out into browsers natively, and things like Stack Overflow, which for anyone who's unfamiliar is a website where people will ask software related questions like how do I use um, uh, Unity to render this particular file type of a 3D model. And you can ask that, and someone will come in. They'll upvote your question if it's good. If you think other people will find it useful, and they'll answer it for you. And a lot of the times, people ask specific enough questions, you can more or less copy paste stuff from there into code and get it running in your application. But that's all about Web 2. But like over a progression of like 6-8 years, we went from this really hard to build for browser environment to much easier, where you could spin up something very quickly. And we saw the same thing with um, with Solidity and the tooling around it. It was just like everything was time shifted a few years. So I remember first getting into Solidity in like 2017, and it was hard. There was not a lot of documentation out there. There was documentation. There was enough that you could figure out your way around it, but like there wasn't a good editor for it. You were probably best off in like using a traditional IDE, but you wouldn't get like any code hints or anything like that. Like today, you start typing the word function, and before you've hit the U, it has auto completed for you, and that's great. You had to type all that out automatically because your IDE back then didn't know the rules of the Solidity language. It couldn't do that for you. Testing your contracts was very hard. The usual flow for a developer is you will spin up a local version of the Ethereum blockchain, deploy code to it, and you can run tests to make sure that your contract does what you think it does. That didn't exist in a really mature format for a while either. So testing was like manually writing scripts that would do the things that today we can do in just a few lines of code. I remember one of the first ideas I had was kind of like for anyone who was around in 2017, they might be familiar with a project called Ether Roll. It was a
Oh yeah, I remember that.
remember Ether Roll? It was
Yeah.
a dice game basically.
Yeah.
Like you're rolling like a D100, and you have to pick how much ether you want to bet on a dice roll, and I think it was you want to roll under that amount. And so if you said, I'll bet one ETH that the next roll will be a 50 or lower, you might stand to win a little less than half of what you put up. The house had some kind of slight edge. Is meant to be an amount that was sustainable to keep the bankroll going. But anyway, I had a similar idea. Like I was like, I want to create a dice game too. That'd be really cool. Um, there is no concept of randomness in Solidity because everything needs to be um, deterministic on the blockchain. You can't have one at the time miner say that all right, I'm running this contract. I hit this function that says generate a random number. The number I generated is 5, and write it to the blockchain and have any hope that when the miners, the rest of the network goes to validate it, they also generate the number 5. It doesn't work like that. You need an Oracle setup that will trustlessly. You want it trustless because you don't want anyone to game your Oracle. You get control of it and then drain your game's bankroll. That will generate that randomness for you and post it back to the blockchain. And we have that now. We have Chainlink. We have other options, and those are really cool. But at the time, I was just like, I've written the shell of this contract for this game, and this program language doesn't have the concept of randomness. That is like an absolute non-starter for me right now, and so many other people are going to struggle with this.
Yep.
Like, is this type of use case just not possible here? I don't know. I never did anything with that. Etherol did its own thing. I kind of lost interest in that. But like, today, the most recent thing I released, I wrote entirely with ChatGPT. I wrote
Oh
very
man.
little code myself. What was it? Geez, it was like 2 weeks ago. I don't even remember. It was an application that. This is another one of those things where kind of inspired by current events. We had the Euler the Euler. I will say Euler. I know it is Euler, but in my head it's always Euler. We had the Euler finance hack, and as is common, we saw the hacker exchanging messages with
Yeah.
the company and with users by posting plain text to the blockchain, and we don't really have anything that I could find quickly. Probably something like that does exist. I don't want to say I was the first to create this, but like I couldn't find anything in a few minutes of
Maybe you
looking
were.
at it. Yeah, I want to make something that will let anyone sign messages and send them to the blockchain like that. And I asked ChatGPT to do that for me, and it generated 100 lines of code after the first prompt. I had to change one line to get it to run, and it literally worked. It was it the app had no styling. It was a plain gray button with a text input, but it actually worked. And just to come from 5-6 years ago where you couldn't even uh, uh, do unit testing in a way that didn't have you rolling your own framework, to writing a text prompt today, where I can type fewer than 300 characters of plain text into a chat box and I have a running application, is just an exponential amount of growth in the developer tooling. It's absolutely amazing what we can do now.
That's so crazy. And like you said, like I love seeing videos of developers using ChatGPT to create code. Like I saw someone make Flappy Bird and he shows the whole process of making Flappy
Oh
Bird.
wow.
And then like yeah, if you had a video of like your process of making that code or using ChatGPT to like go back and forth and showing your prompts, that'd be awesome to watch. And I guess ChatGPT knows Solidity decently
Yeah.
well. That's good. That's good to know. Maybe I'll try something out because I'm not a developer myself, but like you said, like I can write some text prompts that might generate what I want. Uh, and then as you're like working on all these projects, and I guess so you have to be sharing it with someone. Are you sharing it with your wife, your friends? Are you the crazy crypto guy, or is your family and friends like very supportive and agreeable?
I have a few friends who have dabbled financially in crypto. I don't have any IRL friends that I share my applications with beyond them though. I share them with my wife, and she is like a lot of the things I built are silly, and she gets a kick out of those, and she gets the idea behind some of the more serious ones. I remember I had this stupid idea back in late December, and it was Johnny Apple seed phrase. And the idea was, kind of commentary on the seed phrase space. We have these 12 words that pull from a list, and the math is surprising to some people that you can generate a wallet that no one else will guess just by choosing 12 words from a list. And a lot of people leak their seed phrase accidentally. We really need to make improvements there before people come back. Like, that hurt a lot of people, who were new. Very sad to see. But like, the idea that you can just take 12 words, which is a very easy thing to do, and then leak them and give away all your money, is like, I want to put together some kind of commentary there. So I made a Twitter bot that every 5 minutes will generate a new seed phrase and post it to Twitter. I wonder if anyone has set up anything to watch that bot and like check if it accidentally generates a wallet that actually has money in it, because it is an astronomically it's an astronomical improbability that any random seed phrase will point to an existing wallet. And so like the idea of like a bot perpetually generating these things and publicly giving them away was just funny to me. Anyway, you asked about, is my wife supportive? I built that on Christmas Eve after the kids had gone to bed. She's up like wrapping presents or whatever, and this bot took me 2 hours. It wasn't a big investment of time. Like, it's like 13 lines of code, but like, she comes down and finds me coding, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I just made the stupidest thing. I just launched it." And I explained it to her, and she looks at me just like dead in the face and says, "It's Christmas Eve. We have so much to do, and this is how you're choosing this menu." She is very supportive, and she loves all of the silliness of it.
She's like, you're lucky I love you right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's great.
That's so funny. And that's a crazy thing too, like how you said it's improbable that it will be attached to a real wallet with money into it. But like, what if it does?
I
What
know.
if it goes to a wallet that's like someone's life savings, and it's all because you created this Johnny Appleseed, Mike?
There have been times like I'm falling asleep at night, and like, one of my last thoughts will be, Johnny seed phrase exists. And I no longer feel as secure as I did.
Oh man. Well, yeah, like, now that you're creating all these silly apps and being in the ecosystem, like, what is a crypto pet peeve that you have?
A pet peeve. Oh my goodness. The decentralization of it is huge for me. Like, that's something that clicked with me right away. So something that I am not a fan of is a lot of projects that have come out of not so much DeFi. Like, a lot of the projects in DeFi will make an attempt at decentralization, whether that be through, all right, we've got a multi-sig. We've got, we control it, but like, we're responsible developers. The application is still in progress. We have a multi-sig. The contracts are going to be upgradable. Your risks going in. Or we have a DAO, and that's awesome. Maybe we control the majority of the tokens, and the DAO is, just kind of this token thing. But more recently, with a lot of NFT projects will do this, where the ownership of their project and as a consequence, their bankroll is strictly owned by an external address. And it is one slipped up seed phrase away from one of these projects that promised a roadmap and may or may not actually intend to deliver on it, losing everything, because a lot of these newer projects that are starting up, that kind of like got into the space because they saw it was getting hot and it was flashing, it was the next new thing, and they could deploy something very quickly, um, not taking decentralization as seriously as the rest of us that have been here before, and that's kind of the reason they're here. I'm not gonna like slam on them and be like, the reason you're here is to make money, and it's toxic, and you're leeching and all of that. I don't believe that's the case for a lot of projects. Sure, it is for some. I think they have the best interests. A lot of these projects have like their community's interest at heart, and want to honestly build something, but they're not necessarily um, as sold on the value of decentralization that leads them to make to take the kind of extra steps to make sure that what they're doing is actually decentralized. Because if you just own um, a, a NFT that is a pointer to a JPEG that they can rug at any time, that's not in the spirit of what we're doing here. You might as well have built something on a SQL database where you're using PayPal as your exchange. Like um, you do,
And it's hard to rug using
yeah,
PayPal. That's the thing with centralization.
right. Like we built this whole thing for the purposes of decentralization, and you're not taking the time to do it the right way. Um,
Yeah,
I'm not trying to like slam on anyone or anything like that, but I wish that when people came in, they did it because they value the decentralization, and not for other reasons that might lead them to make decisions that have us setting up the old system on top of the new one again.
yeah, and that's just human beings being human beings.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard to it's like expected, but it's sad that you're seeing it and it's happening. Like people are always trying to scam someone. People are always trying to make as much profit as they possibly can using the latest technology to help them do that. So when the internet first came out, it's like, oh, great, look at all these amazing things we can build and share with each other. Then all of a sudden you figure out, oh, if we're sharing information, I can probably steal information. Great. Let me
Yeah.
use that. And then like, oh, there's financial transactions on this. In fact, there's financial transactions. Let's see how we can hack it. So there's always someone who's curious to like hack or abuse or use new developing technology. Like even cell phones and radio waves. Like governments would intercept radio waves between each other just to see like during times of war, just to see what they can get on their enemies. It's just like that's just human beings being humans. And for my thing, it's like we keep blaming like not we, it doesn't mean you, but a lot of the mainstream media or political officials are blaming crypto as the reason people are losing money, but it's not crypto. It's just people being people. If you're going to blame crypto for loss of financial funds or abuse of like rug pulling projects or scamming people, then you just have to shut down the entire communication systems between people online. Otherwise, like cell phone, same thing. People get scam calls to pretend like you're Microsoft and you need to send money to fix your computer. It's just it's a messaging that's taken taken to be used as a political motive or just another way of trying to gain power over crypto, saying cryptocurrency is bad and these are the reasons why it's bad. No, it's like humans are bad. This is why humans need to be changed or try to become more wholesome or understand like the benefits or at least educate others on the benefits of crypto and how it can actually be used to stop the corruption and the rug pulling and be used for decentralized and safe manner. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, it's funny because it at its most basic, like we need to produce blocks, and we have to incentivize people to build blocks, and so we need a currency at the base of a blockchain. And you know at the moment that you introduce the concept of something that has a value, you have people who are trying to take advantage and steal it. And it's a shame. It's like you have to incentivize block building, or no one will run your software, and you have no security. It's a shame that like from get go we set up a system where people are bound to get scammed and lose money, because it makes it very easy for people who for the government, or for people who don't get it yet, to just paint a wide brushstroke that says all crypto is bad, it's all a scam. It's because we've created a system where scams are guaranteed to exist, because we've incentivized something and we are actually passing value back and forth. I don't know how we're going to get past it beyond education, but you can't shove that down people's throats. So it's going to
Yeah.
be a hard road.
Yeah. Sometimes
So,
it's just a learning lesson. I mean, in crypto, like I've in 2017, I've definitely believed in an ICO project and have gotten burned. So it just goes to show, like, all right, maybe I should. That was my learning lesson. That was like my. Everyone, I think everyone goes through some of that in the
oh yeah.
crypto space. Um, but yeah, like, now now that you're in this and you're building, wholesome content, what is your favorite or most wholesome crypto moment?
Wholesome group. Okay, so I kind of dumped on NFT teams and how they're not always taking decentralization uh, to their heart. I will turn it around this time. Um, so a few months ago, there was a member of the CryptoPunks community named Crypto Novo, and they signed a bad transaction, bad signature, and had their punk stolen from them. The thief immediately listed the punk for sale on the CryptoPunks, the Larva Labs website, and one of the people who's known for having a very good CryptoPunks sales bot um, swept it immediately. So the thief made off with, I don't know the amount, maybe 60, 70 ETH in just a few minutes. And, the member of the community who runs this bot now had the punk. And they were, they'd obviously paid for it and bought it honestly. And they said this is Punk's OTC for the shout out there. They had said, uh, you know, happy to sell it back to Crypto Nova, so they can, that they had built their digital identity around this punk. Like, it's their avatar on Twitter. They go to conferences dressed as their punk. It's one of the ones that's got like the green hat with the tassels.
Mhm.
Um, have a physical hat. And that is a really great gesture for Punk's OTC. But then what happened next was, CryptoNovo didn't have the funds to rebuy his Punk at cost at current prices, and the community, all of CryptoNovo's friends and the other members of the CryptoPunks community just went absolutely bananas for like the next 3 days in spinning up NFT projects and other things like that to help raise funds. Like there was a wallet spun up that you could donate directly to that was going to be used to buy the punk back once it accumulated enough ETH. And there was an NFT project where like they took Crypto Novo's punk and chopped up all the 24 by 24 pixels, and you could mint one of those pixels, and that has no value. Like, you don't actually own a pixel of a crypto punk in any kind of meaningful way, but like it's a symbolic gesture that, like, I support this person. It is a shame what happened to them. I am gonna buy one of these pixels because it will make a meaningful difference. There were animated gifs of this person's punk put together, and contracts went up. There were spaces on Twitter held, not 24/7, but like every time I logged into Twitter, I saw there was a new space dedicated to raising awareness about everything everyone was doing for this friend that they had met online. And um, within a couple days, they had raised enough money, and Punk's OTC uh, contributed a little bit as well, essentially bringing the price down for repurchasing it. And like, I think within a week, Crypto Nova had the punk back. And it was just absolutely amazing to see this community kind of rally behind a common cause to make their friend whole again. It was absolutely amazing to see.
I love that. And that's like my favorite thing about like Ethereum community is definitely how much they support each other and NFT projects. Like I personally don't invest too much into NFTs just because I can't tell which one's going to be a rug pull and which one's going to be a good wholesome community.
Yeah,
And there's only very few that I actually, invest into. Um, but that's the beauty of NFT community, as people say, oh, just a JPEG that you buy into and then do nothing with. But you're investing into a community, and that just shows you like that's your community insurance. Like hey, we're here to help each other and grow as a team, and that's beautiful. And I love that you were able to like witness that and see it kind of all live, and that person was made whole again. Hopefully, uh, hopefully that was like an educating time for everyone else in the community. Hopefully, it doesn't happen again. But it definitely is, it's definitely wholesome.
yeah, for sure.
Uh, yeah, again, but thank you again so much, Mike, for joining me. I'm so happy there's someone like you in our community. I hope you keep building fun apps because I love seeing just random stuff just being generated. It's like the beauty of crypto. Just see who else is out there, and yeah, I'm definitely hope more of your apps help either public goods or people or just help yourself and your life and your family. And please let's stay in touch, and I'll be sharing all your deets in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.